Hello, you guys. Welcome to Dustin the Blind Minnesotan podcast. Today, I want to talk about what I did after I graduated from high school in 2016. So, you guys don't feel weird or odd if you never took the traditional path in life. Um, I went to school at a high school called Rogers High School, and it's located in like Rogers, Minnesota. Rogers High School is an amazing high school. I had a teacher called Bucktel. I had a teacher called Olson, Mrs. Olson. I had a teacher called Miss Tana. I had a teacher called Miss Weber. My I had a para named Buckingham. I had a para named Trina. I had a para named Sandy, and then I had a few other pairs I didn't see a lot because they specialize in different disabilities than what I had. But once in a while, I did have a good pair that wasn't on my routine schedule. Um, I liked Rogers High School because they gave me the opportunities that when I was up in St. Cloud that I would never have gotten. They helped me catch up on my education. They helped me get a high school diploma. And I left that place a very happy person. But after I left high school, I went on a roller coaster with my life, and I want to talk about it so other disabled people out there don't feel like they're alone, and they know if you're disabled and still in high school, you still have, time to prepare for what I'm going to say. So then if things don't go as planned for you, you don't feel like you lost something or you're a loser or any of those feelings that you should not have. Um, when I graduated high school from 2016, I was I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was working at Cub Foods in Rogers, my second job ever. My first job was McDonald's, loved it, loved making fries, loved cleaning the lobby, but I wanted more. The Rogers McDonald's was a good start. Then I went to Cub Foods, and I love Cub Foods. I love my boss, Mark. Some of my coworkers I went to school with at Rogers, so I got to see them outside of work. Because, the people when they're in school, that's not their true selves. When you meet people outside of high school, like when they're at the grocery store with their parents, or when they're out at the grocery store by themselves, you get to see the real them because they're not putting up a fake wall to impress people when you're talking to them one on one and there's no one else in the school around you. So I got to work with some of my classmates, and I got to meet the real version of those classmates, not the fake versions they projected themselves at school. When I was at high school, I projected myself as this confident, social, outgoing person. Well, that's not the true me. The true me is more reserved, and I like to kind of listen. And I'll sprinkle my common sense in there, but I'm more of a truly listen and observe kind of person. And I used to be more talkative and more reserved at the same time. But now as I got older and all the my experience I went through, I'm more of a I have nothing to say anymore because my life is kind of pretty boring now that I'm a 26-year-old adult and my life is more stable than my younger years. So when I left Rogers High School, I lived in, Rogers because, after I moved out of my dad's house in Otsego, I moved to Rogers and I worked at Cup Foods for a little bit. And then I wanted, because, I'm vision impaired, so I can't drive because I needed to walk to work. So I walked to Cubs and then I saw some coworkers there that worked there for 60 years or 30 years, or you mean some people worked there since the Cubs was beginning and they're in their 80s now. And they told me, Dustin, you need to advance yourself. You can't work here at this grocery store like us for the rest of your life. You need to go to school. So then I'm like, cool, I need to go to school. But Rogers, this is before COVID and online school. It's like, you know what I mean? Rogers didn't have no public transportation for me to go to school with. So that's when I moved to Maple Grove. I lived in downtown Maple Grove, right by front of Maple Grove Central Park, or Central Park of Maple Grove, or Maple Grove Central Park, whatever freaking way you want to put it. Um, and then I got a job at Toys R Us because I wanted to be walkable distance. Toys R Us is now where Bob's Furniture is in downtown Maple Grove in the shopping area. So if you type in Bob's Furniture, it'll take you right where the old Toys R Us was. And I worked there Saturdays and Sundays. And then I would go then Monday through Fridays, I would hop on the Maple Grove bus because Maple Grove bus, they don't have really have bus stops. You have to walk or bike to a station, and then then the bus goes from the station to downtown. It's an express bus. That's how kind of express buses work. So then I would walk to the express bus in Maple Grove, the downtown one by the where the Floor and Decor is. That's where it used to be the AMC movie theater before they went broke during COVID. So then I would walk over there and I hop on the bus and I would go downtown Minneapolis from downtown Maple Grove. And then from there I would hop on the 7 bus to go from downtown Minneapolis through the Cedarside Riverside neighborhood, that's in South Minneapolis, and into the Longfellow neighborhood to Matthews Park. I would get off the bus by Matthews Park, walk across the street, and I would go to the school called AVO, AVIVO. They help homeless people, disabled people get certifications like an IT support, dentist support, office supports, and then disabled people can take those certifications and get entry level jobs in the workforce. And they do that with homeless people. Lately, they're famous for they bought a warehouse, or I think they bought it now because I think they were torn between renting and buying or whatever, up in North Minneapolis, and they built little homes in the warehouse so homeless people can stay there while they're getting educated at AVO and getting helping AVO's helping them get out of poverty. Um, so I went to school down there, and I really liked the AVO experience, the teacher, like at first, because my first year teach my first year teachers, they taught me typing because I sucked at typing, so they taught me how to improve my typing. Now I actually type faster than I write because I'm so used to not writing anymore. When I physically have to write, I'm like, my brain's like, how do I do this again? So I prefer typing now over writing because that's how good they taught me to type. Um, so I learned how to type and I learned how to make professional PowerPoints and Word and Excel and PowerPoint, how to do, okay, if you need to show a presentation on spending, how do you do that? And you know what I mean? So I went through those 2 classes. That took me about a year because you know what I mean. And I also took an Excel class, and you know what I mean. So you show up 8 hours a day. So what they do is they give you 4 hours of class, and then they let you sit at school for 4 hours to do your homework. So that's how that school works. Because a lot of people at AVO they don't have internet and they don't have computers at home. So so they give you time to do your homework. And it teaches homeless people and people with disabilities how to do critical thinking, how to do research, how do you find information to make the PowerPoint. how do you make a PowerPoint without copying and pasting and getting in trouble? It was a good course. And then, we I had a 3 month break. And then I used that 3 months to work full time at, Toys R Us. Made a lot of money, made a lot of money, made a lot of money. And then I used that money to pay for my next classes. And that's when I took a 9 month intro to IT course where I got my 480-hour certification. So what they make you do is they make you read a CompTIA book and you study it and you take practice tests and blah blah blah. And at the end of the class, you get a 480-hour IT certificate. And what you can use that for is that certificate pretty much tells IT companies that you have work experience. And you have hands-on experience. It is not like official education, like woohoo, now I can go to a job that demands associate's degree. You can't do that with that certification, but now you can walk into T-Mobile and say, hey, a T-Mobile store and say, hey, look, I can work at your store because I spent a year learning how technology works, so please hire me. And then they can see your certification, and that certification will say, okay, he has some experience working with with phones and stuff. Let's hire him. So, and then from there, still have to go to a technical school and stuff to get your degree. But you mean if you want to work higher than a phone store, but it helps you get into an entry level IT job. So then I went there for a year. I met my frenemy slash friend Joe. I met my friend Debbie. I met my friend Pam. I met my friend Trina. I met my friend Paul. And then I used to talk to Janae, but Janae disappeared somewhere. I talked to Janae for a while, and then I made a bunch of friends, and I made also when I was down there, I also made a bunch of enemies too, because me as a suburban kid, when I moved down to Minneapolis, I was thinking in my head, oh, I'll be nice to everyone, right? Just like you would do out in the suburbs, you're nice to everyone, and then people be nice to you, and everyone gets along. Nope. South Minneapolis culture is not that way. Not me not knowing this, that because I was talking to this person, they were a part of a different clique or a different gang than a different person I was talking to. And one day I was at lunch because I used to eat lunch even in the winter at the park across the street at Matthews Park across the street from school. I'll just put on my coat and I'll eat underneath one of the those rental eating areas at the park. I would go there because I've just been staring at these classmates for the last 3 hours. I want a break from staring at you. So I would get my coat on, I would go outside, and I would eat outside just to get a mental break from people. One day I was crossing across the street from Matthews Park to Avo, and one of my enemies at the Avo almost ran me over. I was crossing the street, and I got to the other side, and I see this car just driving right towards me. And my classmate Gary grabs me and yanks me out of the way of the car. And this car goes into the boulevard, that little green space between the sidewalk and the road, into the boulevard, whizzes right past us, goes, because the resource is on a corner, through the parking lot and boom onto the other road and then he takes off, comes back around the corner, and then because it's numbered, South Minneapolis has a small street, so he can come back really quick and then parks in that parking lot, comes out, walks into the building, and I see him having a liquor bottle, walks in the building. I'm looking through the front because the school front has a bunch of glass windows, and he ends up throwing the liquor bottle at the receptionist in an argument of trying to get me kicked out of the school. And I went in there because, this argument's about me. So I went in there and I kind of calmed the guy down, like, because he was mad at me because I made him look like an idiot in class. And how dare I talk to his enemies at the school? And to me, I wasn't thinking like, oh, you mean whatever. And I told him like, hey, I'm not part of no gangs. I'm not part of no cliques. I'm just here to learn. And when I'm here to learn, I'm here to be social. And then the school, but this time the security guard, the security guard was calling the police, and the guy was escorted out of the school. I never filed charges against the man because the issue is in South Minneapolis, if you do that kind of stuff, it makes the situation worse. So that's when I had to learn that I had to be, careful. I had to be careful on who I talked to, which because and when I was in school down there, who I hung out with, what classmates I hung out with, because you don't know if they're part of a gang, are they part of some kind of activity that you don't want to be a part of, and um, and you don't know what's going to happen to you. Um, Definitely with the people who went to school that were homeless, disabled. They're some. We had a guy who used to sell drugs that got caught, went to jail, went out of jail, got homeless, and then he was going to Avo to get his career back up, and then he had enemies because he owed money to people, and his enemies would show up to the school and cause problems. And so then after that, I got my 480 hour certificate, and I was happy, because I'm like, cool, now I can go get my degree. So then I transferred over to Anoka Ramsey for a little bit, and I was sick of taking the bus rides from Maple Grove to downtown, then from downtown Maple Grove to downtown Anoka or downtown Coon Rapids, and then taking the bus from downtown Anoka or downtown Coon Rapids to Anoka Ramsey. It just kept on getting too stressful. I did it about for a year and then I was done. So then I transferred over to Hennepin Tech in Brooklyn Park, and that was a good decision because me and my teacher at Anoka Ramsey he didn't have the same teaching method I needed, and I didn't have the same learning method that he used. So me and him butt heads a lot because his teaching work didn't work for me, and my learning methods did not work for him. But when I transferred to Hennepin Tech, I found a lot of teachers that were from Ukraine, from Russia, from one of my teachers was from Africa, somewhere like Libya, somewhere around Libya. I remember he said was somewhere around Libya. Um, and then when I met with when they were teaching me, they taught me from not a Western perspective of IT. They taught me from an Eastern perspective of IT. And learning from the Eastern perspective of IT just made me click. Just the Eastern method of teaching IT made it click for me. And I got it, and I graduated Hennepin Tech with my IT support degree. Yay! And I loved Hennepin Tech because the classes were so small that me as a disabled student, I got more one-on-one attention. And then Hennepin Tech, because it's a technical school, like Anoka Ramsey, a community college, was more you read the books, you pass the test. Well, Hennepin Tech was more cool where you get to touch the computer parts. This is a motherboard. Feel how a motherboard feels like, and then they let you touch the motherboard. Or this is how a CPU feels like, and they give you a dead CPU that no longer works, and you could feel the spikes on the CPU. So Hennepin Tech was more of a physical school. They let you, and then our final project to get our degree was you had to build this custom server. They gave you the parts and all that stuff, and they said, make this work. You could use Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever you wanted to use. You just had to make the computer work. So, and the server work. So I put it together. It took me a while because it was COVID and I had low vision and stuff, but I put these goggles on my head that lets me zoom in and stuff when I'm looking, and I was able to put the computer together. It booted, and I used a Linux server because Linux is free and Linux is way better than Windows. I still use Windows because I only use Windows for like simple things like gaming and making videos and podcasts like this. I don't use Windows for anything fancy, so I just use Windows because everyone knows how to use Windows. And when my mom uses my computer, she doesn't have to ask me a bazillion times what does everything do on the computer. But if I didn't have to share my computer, if I was gonna do something more cool, like run like a website or something, I would use Linux to run that. So my computer started up. It was cool. I took a picture. I passed the class. I got my 2-year degree in IT support, and I was happy. And my life was pretty good there. And then when I was in South Minneapolis, I learned a lot of things about poverty, a lot of things about life that I wish I didn't see. I had I saw homeless people prostituting themselves. I saw homeless people asking for money. I saw people day drinking at the park across the street where they'll drink, drink, drink until they pass out. Um, one day I was leaving school, one of my classmates, MJ, was being chased. Um, and I stepped in, got involved there, because by a drunk guy. It, I mean, it was it. That's I saw some things when I went to school down there that I wish that I didn't see, but it was also still a good experience because I got to see how dark and how scary the world can be. And it woke me up and it made me thankful at the time that cool, I get to live in a nice townhouse in Maple Grove. I had parents that love me. I was never homeless. I have money for the bus. I don't have to do prostitution on the side to pay for my schooling. Um, it made me realize how blessed I was seeing the darkness that was in South Minneapolis. When I was down there, I saw people doing cocaine because they would be on the picnic tables during the summer. They'll take a credit card, go chop, 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 to like, because sometimes cocaine comes in a pill, chop, 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 and they'll take a lighter, they'll light it, make it smoky, and they'll take a straw and they snort it. I saw people injecting themselves at the park. I saw a whole dark side of this world that um, that a lot of disabled people that grew up like in Rogers and St. Cloud, where I'm from, would never believe what I saw. I mean, it was this. I got to see this world that the people, the teachers, and the loved ones in the suburbs that try to hide me from and try to hide from me, I saw. Um, After I got done with Hennepin Tech. When I was in Hennepin Tech between semesters, when there's no classes, I worked at CVS, Total Wine. So I did work and I used that money to put towards my school and towards my food and Yemen, and stuff. College was really hard for me because with my disability, I'm not really good. My low vision, I'm not good at reading. And then I listen to a lot of audiobooks on Audible. And I listen to a lot of audiobooks on Apple Books. So I love audiobooks. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to murder mystery podcasts and stuff because I just don't like reading anymore because it's really hard on my eyes. When I was younger, I didn't mind reading because when I was reading like Percy Jackson books and stuff, like the physical books, it didn't take as much energy. But as I'm getting older, me reading like physical books is just getting harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. So now I just listen to mystery podcasts or listen to audiobooks on Apple Books or Audible, owned by Amazon. Everyone knows that. And then so then I'm not straining. I can just lay back and relax and listen without straining my eyes to read. So, and then my learning disability, it made it hard too. So then I don't want to go back to college. I don't want my 4 year degree. Getting my 2 year degree and getting my certifications, I'm done with school. I'm done. I can say, hey, at least I'm a disabled man that got his associate's degree and 3 certificates. I'm done. And I impressed the world enough. And then, um, after I graduated, I needed money. So then I joined Nordstrom Rack. I worked there for almost a year in the one in Maple Grove, and I liked some of my coworkers, and I didn't like some of my coworkers. And some shifts I was the only guy in the whole store because a lot of people Nordstrom Rack focuses on female clothes, not male clothes. So, and I chose it because it was walking distance from the rental townhouse I was living at the time, and I would just walk there. When it snowed, I would walk there. When it rained, I would walk there. Um, and then I would just walk there. And then, or if it was really bad, like a blizzard, I would Uber home and I would Uber there. Um, yeah, so um, I did it. And then, and sometimes when I was going to school, I would Uber to school, then I would Uber back home. You mean because it's only like a 10-mile thing, so the Uber was like at the time was only like $8 away. So I would say, F it, I'm getting paid $15 an hour. I'll just use one of my hour of pay just to get back and forth. To me, it was worth it. Some days. And then from there, I got a promotion. And then I was moved to the store in downtown Minneapolis. So then I'm like, cool, cool. I'm going to move to downtown Minneapolis. I moved into the LaSalle Plaza because there's apartment buildings attached to the plaza. That's where when you're walking down Hennepin Avenue in downtown, you'll see a Crave, you see the Crave restaurant, you'll see a theater, and you'll see Capital One Grill. That's the building I lived in. Um, and then the Nordstrom Rack was in the IES Tower, and then I could walk through the Skyway no matter what the weather was to get to work. So I chose that apartment. It was $950 a month. Loved it. I could afford it. I was bringing home 1,500. I had extra money, pay my bills, put my savings, blah blah blah. And what happened was the store closed my second day there, and I'm like, crap. They came in, big corporate from Chicago came in, closed everything. Did not even tell us they were coming. And then I was panicking because now I have rent due, and I wasn't on Social Security. I wasn't getting payments. I mean, I was living off my own money because I wanted to be as normal as possible. And then I worked at the Mall of America, and I would take the D line bus that goes from Brooklyn Center to through downtown Minneapolis, through South Minneapolis into the Mall of America because it goes through Richfield, through Bloomington to the Mall of America. And then I would take the train too. Um, on my way to work, when I was on the train, I saw people doing drugs, getting high, drinking alcohol while getting high on the train. And I took the train every day to work until someone robbed me on the train. And and then I said, I'm done taking the train. And homeless people would walk on the tracks, block the train, and just laugh, ha 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 ha, because they're bored and they have nothing to do. And then we had homeless people that would attack the train. We had homeless people that called the Metro Transit and said, haha, we left a bomb on the train, ha 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 ha. And just, just to mess with people. And they're homeless, they have nothing else to do. Or they're drugged up, or they're addicts, or these jerks that want to ruin your day. I had that. So then I start taking the D bus to work, and the D bus was a little better because they didn't have people attacking it. They didn't have people doing drugs on it, but you would just have the homeless person sleep on the back. And at that point, I was pretty immune to it. Like, okay, there's a homeless person sleeping on the back. You kind of get because you kind of get immune to it. And then I worked at the Mall of America about for 7 months until I saw someone OD and die in the elevator. when I was working at the East Desk one day, and I said, I'm getting out of here. I can't, because I would work at the East Desk, that's the help desk by the transit center. So I would deal with homeless people all day. I would deal with non-homeless people all day. I would deal with tourists, and and the homeless just became too much for me. And I said, I need to get out of here. I want to have weekends off. I want to work. I'm 25 years old. I want to get a career. I don't want to be 80 years old at the Mall of America doing the same miserable job every single day. So that's when I went to DCM Services, the debt collection agency. I worked there for a month and I really liked the shifts because their shift was they had two shifts, one from 8 until 5 and one from 10 to 7. And it was Monday through Friday. We had weekends off. And I'm like, perfect. And I heard debt collection was hard, and it's a hard, bitter industry. So I'm like, okay, I will put up with hard and difficult as long as I get a normal like schedule. I was there for a month. They taught me about the laws, what to do, what not to do, when collecting debt from a deceased person. And I love my job. I love calling people. I like to making payment plans with them. Like, hey guys, just pay off your debt. How much Social Security you get? How much assets that person has? And I got to plan. Okay, these are the assets the person has. This is the bills they have, and let's make a payment plan. And then we go to help make a payment plan. And if this felt good helping dead people and their relatives pay off their debt, and then that person can, once that debt's paid off, their living people can finally feel like they can move on and the person's finally rested and gone. So I liked the job. I definitely like talking to the older people because the older people felt like, yes, I want to take responsibility for my wife's debt and I want to pay it off. And let's do this. And I would make sure that they had an affordable, that after they sold his wife's or husband's assets, that they would have an affordable payment plan. But DCM Services disagreed with me. They wanted me to be more forceful and said, I want the money now. And because that's the whole point of debt collections, their job is to get the most money as quick as possible and then move on to the next case. Well, I disagreed with them. I was like, okay, they're more willing to pay if we put them on payment plans. And so I would approach them as the payment plan method. Okay, you don't have the money now. Go get a go get a probate. Have a lawyer go through because there's not enough money, and then we can create a payment plan. And DCM Services did not like the way I did it because they wanted all the money now. And then we had disagreement on how we would do the job. And and when they let me go because they said I wasn't collecting money fast enough, I was at first I was a little bit angry because I really liked the job. I really liked what I was doing, and I really liked how I was getting customers to pay their bills. But I was doing it in a way where I wasn't feeling like I was bankrupting them or I was destroying their lives or I was getting them to pay their bills. So that's how I felt like the whole job of the job was to get them to pay their bills. And I was getting them to pay their bills and and I felt happy and then to me I was just holding out in my head, okay, I only have 3 months in my lease in downtown. Only 3 months. So we just have to, if this job turns out to be awful, you just have to be here for 3 months. So, so then, they laid me off and I'm like, damn it, I have 2 months left. So then what I did was I still had 2 free months of rent that I got when I signed up the lease. So I put that in the last 2 months. And what I did was I'm like, okay, when my lease here ends, where do I want to go? So I went down to Fort Myers, Florida, stayed with my mom for a month. I did research, where are the bus lines, where could I live, where are the job opportunities for people with disabilities, and I compared that to Minnesota, And I said, sorry, Minnesota has way more job opportunities, way better bus lines, and better things for me to have the career that I wanted. So, so I came back to Minnesota. And then I spent the last month of my lease looking for a new apartment, and I found one in Columbia Heights, and I love it here in Columbia Heights. I have a city bus, and I have Metro Mobility. I have a podcast episode about Metro Mobility. Just to let you know, the podcast episode about Metro Mobility and the YouTube episode about Metro Mobility are two different episodes. Because with Metro Mobility, I felt like it's a complex thing and a visual thing. So I did the visual stuff on my YouTube channel. And then I took the audio from that and I edited it and I took out the visual stuff and I posted it on my Dustin the Blind Minnesota podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Music. So then you know, you're getting like if you're on YouTube, get more of the visual stuff. If you're on the podcast players, get more of the visual stuff. Because now my podcasts are starting to become a little bit different because the YouTube I'm going more visual, and on the Spotify and Apple Podcasts I'm going more um, verbal. So now some of the content are still going to be the same, and then some of them are going to be a little bit different. Like a video like this is going on Spotify and on YouTube, but because it's just me talking, me a moving head. But um, but if it was something different, I would post online, say, hey, this is different than this. Go check out this content and this content. So yeah. So then um, so I went to Florida. Now I'm here, and now I'm reapplying for jobs again, and I'm rebuilding my life. So because when I originally moved to downtown Minneapolis, I thought I'd be working at Nordstrom Rack for a few years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, because I really liked working for the Nordstrom Rack company. And I'm like, cool, I'm living downtown. I'm gonna have all these high-end people from the Skyway come shopping in the store. It's gonna be freaking amazing. And I was going to be a high end person there. I was going to be someone important. I was going to be someone special, and they closed. So now I'm in Columbia Heights here, and I healed from my wounds that happened the last year, seeing all the druggies, homeless people hit on me, homeless people begging me for money, homeless people trying to have sex with me for free food, homeless people trying to have sex with me for money, like me have sex with them and I'll pay them. And you mean it was just seeing that mess downtown. It feels good to be back out in Columbia Heights. And I have lovely parents because my parents helped me move out from downtown Minneapolis to Columbia Heights. So it helps that I have very, very, very supportive parents that love me, that care about me, that want the best for me and want me to be successful. Now I'm living out here in Columbia Heights and I'm looking for a job again that's along the bus line and I am rebuilding myself. And I'm happy, I am confident, and because I know that no matter what happens, like I have my parents, I have my siblings, and everything is going to be okay. Um, and After seeing the darkness that happens in Minneapolis, the evil things that happen in Minneapolis, I talked to a girl who's during the George Floyd's riots, whose apartment in Uptown was lit on fire, and how her whole apartment building was destroyed. And that's why she moved into LaSalle in downtown because it was close to her old business that she was rebuilding, and she needed some place to live. So my cousin now lives on Lake Street next to the third precinct. Um, and I go down there to visit her because some of the people on the train and on the buses I need to take to go see her are not the most upstanding citizens of the country. And she is a woman and I'm a guy. And I've been seeing this stuff in Minneapolis and the crazies in Minneapolis for the last 5 to 6 years of my life. So you mean I kind of know how to handle it. So I always go to her because whatever goofies I run into the train and the bus, I can normally handle them and I come out okay. I don't want her, a skinny small female, hopping on the bus and then something happening because she doesn't know how to handle those situations. So I go down to her and I because she works from home, so she doesn't really have to leave her house. So you mean that's a good thing because then she gets to take her time to learn the city. She doesn't have to like dip her toes into a burning hot tub like I had to do to learn the city. So she, at least because she works from home, she can learn the city slowly and adjust to the city slowly. I had to go in running. Um, so I go to South Minneapolis still to visit my cousin Katie, and then I still go to Bloomington to visit my best friend Cheryl. Um, and then I take Ubers out to Champlin, the 5/8 Club, to meet up with my friend Paul. Oh my God, you guys, you have to go to the Champlin 5/8 Club. They make a really good Juicy Lucy that competes with Matt's Bar in South Minneapolis, and and the 5/8 Club takes credit cards and bank cards that the Matt's Bar in South Minneapolis doesn't take, and the 5/8 Club in Champlin has parking that the Matt's Bar in South Minneapolis doesn't have. So if you want a good Juicy Lucy, go to 5/8 Club in Champlin. And oh my God, their Juicy Lucy's are like they feel like they came from heaven. It's like Jesus like made a burger and shot a laser down to earth into the 5/8 Club of this heavenly Juicy Lucy. Oh my God, if you can't have dairy, don't eat the Juicy Lucy because there's like cheese. They inject cheese into the bread. They inject cheese into the meat. They put regular cheese on top of the cheese injected with meat. And it's not like over cheesy because the cheese they inject into the meat has flavor. So it tastes like, so you can get bacon tasting cheese, brat tasting cheese, and and oh my God, when you take a bite of that burger and you can feel the cheese ooze into your mouth, oh, it feels like a burger that came from the heaven itself. Um, it's a really beautiful burger, and they sell other burgers too. So if you're not a fan of the Juicy Lucy, they sell very other good burgers too. And then I go to the U of M campus. I take the train down to the Prosper Park station. It's right next to Shirley Brewery, though the best brewery in Minneapolis, in my opinion, because they sell beer, liquor, pizza. It's the sorry to me, Shirley Brewery is on that Green Line train there near Prospect Park. Is the best damn place to eat in Minneapolis. Oh my God, I love that. Because to me, I'm not a fancy salad person. I'm not a clubby person. I'm not like, oh, I must have all organic food or I must have all vegan food. Or if you like that stuff, Minneapolis has plenty of that stuff, but I'm not that kind of person. I want this big, fatty, unhealthy cow. And I want to shove it in my face. Um, so, um, so for me, because that's the person I kind of am and I grew up, Shirley's is the best. But if you're more of like, more of I want to eat fake meat or I want and have fake veggie burgers and stuff that taste like a real burger, or I want salads, that really good salads. You want to eat on Washington Avenue along the river because there's high-end restaurants that sell that stuff where you can sit on the patio in the summer and stare at the river and the path and people coming by and stuff. So if you want more of the healthy high end food, you want to go to like Washington Avenue in downtown. Don't go to Nicollet Mall or don't go to Hennepin Avenue. Hennepin Avenue is just overpriced clubs that give you shitty food. You want to go to like Washington Avenue along the river and downtown and enjoy those organic plant-based foods if you're into that stuff. To me, I'm into the unhealthy vein plugging grease kind of food when I want to spend good money. So then sometimes I go to Shirley's and Shirley's is a big parking lot. For all the U of M students who want to drive there and party, they have the train, so then you can get off the train and walk there. Um, it's surrounded by luxury apartments and condos. And my friend Trina lives over there. So sometimes I'll go over there and we go to Shirley's, listen to music, eat burgers. There's a Chinese place buffet next to it. And then not really next, but separated by apartment. But you kind of get what I'm saying. And then you can go to the Chinese buffet. The Chinese buffet is like an average buffet. I'd rather go to Shirley's, but sometimes I'm in the mood to Chinese when I go with her. And then we'll eat Chinese. She'll walk home because she's literally right there. Then I'll go to Shirley's, have a few drinks, and an ice cream because they have deep fried ice cream there. And then I'll take the train, go to downtown, and then take the 10 bus back home. Oh, Shirley Brewery. I can taste the pizza in my mouth already. And then so there were some good things going downtown, like going to Shirley Brewery, hanging out when I had the day off. Like yeah, when I was at the Mall of America, I had a random Tuesday off, but it was felt nice to still take the train on a Tuesday and have like the whole bar to myself and eat a big fatty pizza and looking at the TV on a Tuesday. That was my version of Saturday. And then I could stop by in the bank on the way home, and you know what I mean. And there was no one online because it's a Tuesday, and you know what I mean, because U of M students don't want to go to do their chores on a Tuesday, right when they're doing class. And then I would have fun over there, and you mean then I'll stop at Target's headquarters right next to me, and I would do my grocery shopping. And so there were some good things about downtown Minneapolis and living in Minneapolis. My cousin at that time, she was only a 15-minute train ride or a 30-minute bus ride away. So every other weekend I can kind of see her, and we could go to Wendy's next to her apartment and just burge out on Wendy's. That's why, guys, I am thick because I love food, and I go have to walk a lot because to burn off all the food I like to eat. So living in Minneapolis wasn't a bad thing. I do. So, there was some good experience there. I met a lot of other visually impaired people. I started a community called Minnesota's Blind Vision Impaired Community, and all the blind and vision impaired people in that group I met walking the streets of Minneapolis. And I told them about my group, and they joined the group. I met three blind vision impaired kids at the Mall of America, and I told them, "Hey, look, I'm vision impaired, and I work here at the Mall of America. Woohoo!" I made time for them. So then they saw I have low vision button, and it inspired kids. Then just to inspire them, hey, look, I have low vision too, and look at I'm working. Um, So, because when I see a lot of blind vision impaired kids, I'll make time out of my day to interact with them and say, hey, I'm vision impaired too, and I'm working, this is how my life is. And that's why now I'm starting making like podcast videos like this. So then other blind vision impaired people can see, oh, my life is possible. I can be as normal as possible and be visually impaired and blind and be okay. Um, yeah, so I really enjoyed my life so far. And yes, I did see Minneapolis did have some darkness, but if I didn't move to Minneapolis, I wouldn't have half the friends I have now. Um, so I did see some dark, really dark, scary things, but I also saw some light things too. And now I'm starting again, and I am going to be a productive citizen. So I hope you guys have a good day, and please share this podcast, like this podcast, and watch all my other videos on YouTube or listen to my other podcast episodes on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and be inspired. I'm not trying to do this to make money. I'm trying to when I'm waiting for job applications to respond, I'm trying to do this to motivate you. And and when I'm talking to you guys, it also motivates me so then I don't give up hope too. Well, I hope you guys have a good day. Bye bye.